Welcome to Retirement with Jim. So today we're going to talk about things to do before retirement. Before we get started though, if you like my content, please hit the like and subscribe button. It really helps my channel grow. Along with that, feel free to leave comments. Love to hear from you. If you agree, disagree, or if there are other subjects you'd like me to talk about. So with that, let's go ahead and get started. So first off, let me start with I'm glad to be back in the office. And this is my office in my golf cart out here doing these videos. The weather, I live in Phoenix, has not been so nice just because it's winter. Not as warm as I wanted it to be. So I am very happy to be back in the nice weather and back on my cart where I enjoy doing these videos. So let's get started. So first thing is to do before retirement, kind of the obvious, save. And you certainly want to save hard. You want to save as much as you can and be aggressive about your saving. But the one thing that kind of gets overlooked in saving money is, do you look at the taxes? A lot of people don't think about it. It doesn't occur to them that you should be looking at what you think your tax implications are going to be, when you retire. So obviously, Roth is a great way to pay for your taxes up front. And when it comes to retirement, then you are paying nothing to the government because everything is done. So it's something to seriously consider. And or if you're not so sure about taxes, get some help. Get someone who has got that experience behind them that can steer you in the right direction. But a lot of people overlook taxes, and it's important to give it a good, serious, hard look as you are preparing to get retired. The next thing up is debt. You need to eliminate, as all of your debt. Really. And some people nowadays say, well, they'll carry a mortgage in, whatnot, and I'd still be paying some kind of rent or mortgage. So, but I would tell you, you can concentrate on paying your mortgage off. You should, because it will make life in your retirement so much more enjoyable. So much more enjoyable. It is not an expense you'll have to deal with, and you'll just deal with your property taxes, possibly an HOA, and insurance for the home. But that can all be budgeted in. You'll know what those costs are. They are, for the most part, fixed costs, and they're easy to figure out. So if you can get your house paid off, you will find that you will be very happy when it comes to the time you actually retire and say, oh, I'm glad I was able to get that paid off. Or at the very least, pay it down as far as you can so that you don't have, you're not paying a mortgage through the entire time you are retired. Excuse me. Next thing up is reserve cash. It's really good to have as much reserve cash as you can, simply because it really de-stresses your life to know that you have money set aside for things that may happen during retirement that you don't necessarily want to pull out of your retirement fund. You want to be able to just have that. And most people will call it, of course, the rainy day fund, but it's reserve cash that you can draw on and you have easy access to, whether it's just simply cash in the bank, or whether it's a CD that is not a long-term CD that you can cash out with little penalty. So keep in mind that you want to have, at least some kind of reserve cash to help with things that come up unexpectedly. Excuse me. And forgive me, I'm looking at my list, so don't forget anything. The next is covering upfront expenses. So, and what I mean by that is upfront before you retire. So if you're thinking to yourself you wanted to buy a new car and have a new car that's paid for, and it's in good shape, from a warranty standpoint. Something like maybe looking at your roof, you're thinking that you might have to, put a new roof on. How's your HVAC? Your air conditioning, your heating. What are those things? Those are costly things that can run into a lot of money that in retirement you don't want to have to think of. When my wife and I bought our home that we live in, one of the largest concerns and one of the biggest pluses, I should say, not a concern, was the house had a roof that was less than 6 months old, and it had a new air conditioning unit that was only a year old. So those were some really nice features that put our mind at ease about not having to deal with any kind of cost, somewhere down the line. So think about that. The next is plan your retirement out. What are you going to do in that retirement? What are you going to do with your time? Some people have an absolute plan. They know what they're going to do. They have, whether it's traveling or hobbies they may have, but it's surprisingly, there is a lot of people that do not have a concrete plan about what they're going to do with their time. And they figure they're just going to kind of figure it out as they go along. I'm not going to say it's a recipe for disaster, but it's going to make your retirement a little less enjoyable if you don't kind of know what you're going to do with your time and how you're going to fill that. So it's important to plan out what you think you want to do with your retirement. Kind of give it some thought. Now, the next up is budget. You really want to make sure that you've got a retirement budget, and think about all of the expenses you may have in retirement, and what those expenses are going to be as best you can build your budget around that. And as you build that budget, you need to also then take a look at can you build in a little fudge factor for inflation, because you should. That will make it a little bit easier for yourself because you'll have a little extra cash, because inflation is going to have its ups and downs, and it's just always going to be there. Excuse me. So, and keep in mind that as time goes by, you will spend less in your retirement. You might not initially off the front end, but you certainly will as you go further into your retirement, and you will realize that there are less things that you want and need, and you're just enjoying your time. So you will end up spending less, which is a good thing. Next thing is take that budget and take it out for a test drive. Do a test run in it. So you need to run your budget, and whether it's for 6 months or even a year or whatever you're comfortable with, but it's got to be a length of time that will give you a view of how well will you do in your budget. Will you be able to stay online and stay on course, and be able to make the budget work. Some people go through life and they don't have a budget at all, never had one, don't have a clue. Others, they've had a budget, but, now that you're getting ready, or you're thinking about possibly retiring, it's important to be able to say, can I make that budget work? And so it really stands to reason that going out on a test run is really a smart thing to do. It's really makes perfect sense as to, what you want to do with, with that money, and can you stay on course? Important thing to think about. And you want to think about your long-term health care cost. So the Advantage plans, the Medicare, they have limits and limitations. And so if you're not thinking about long-term care, you really should be, because when you get older is when all of that is going to come up. We're all going to have some kind of health care issues that we're going to have to deal with. So, and let's face it, in retirement, that turns out to be one of the biggest costs that you're going to have to absorb. So keep that in mind, that if you have not thought about what your long-term healthcare plans, are, or what the cost may be, you really should investigate that and have at least some kind of game plan that will make that something that you can find your way through without it really ruining your retirement. Because believe me, medical cost and medical debt can really wreak havoc, on your retirement, and certainly on your retirement budget. Costs over the course of a lifetime in retirement are well over $300,000 in terms of what it costs you that you're going to pay out of your pocket, not to mention what the insurance is taking care of. So it's important to know because the Advantage plans, they don't take care of long-term health. Medicare doesn't take care of long-term health. There are some things they cover, but it's very minimal, and you got to be prepared for it. So with that, I'm going to tell you, hey, I'm glad to be back out in the car and out here in the office again. So if you like my content, I hope to hear from you. With that, I'm going to tell you, have a great day, and I will see you in the next one.